but my first impression is just smooth. You know, it's like 007 sitting at the bar, sipping on a drink, just putting out that cool, smooth vibe. What's going on, everybody? Barrett here with Spec of Tech. Welcome to the channel. So my audio hasn't been the greatest recently, so I did buy a new microphone, so I want you guys to drop your comments down below how the sound is on this video. Let me know if it's better or worse. I'll try and fine-tune it as we go. Today I want to talk to you guys about a speaker that you may not have heard of or you may not know a whole lot about, because every time I tell somebody that I've purchased these speakers, most of them don't know what I'm talking about. And to be honest, I'm kind of surprised that a lot of people don't know about this speaker because it was designed by Andrew Jones. The speaker, of course, that I'm talking about is the Mofi Electronics Sourcepoint 888 tower speaker. Let me get this out of the way right off the bat. I've purchased these speakers with my own money. I have no affiliation with Mofi or anybody that sells Mofi speakers. I did my own research, and these are the speakers that I decided to buy after I sold my legacy audio speakers. If you'd like to know why I sold the legacy audio speakers, I'll link the video that explains it in the top right-hand corner of this video. Now, with that being said, I do want to give a huge thank you to Ross over at Absolute Audio Video here in Calgary, Alberta. That's where I bought these speakers from. He was just fantastic to deal with, and they did have some Sourcepoint 10s for me to listen to, so at least to get a bit of an idea of how these speakers sound. So if you are in the Calgary area, I highly recommend you go check out Absolute Audio Video. They got some really great gear in there. All right, so let's talk about the Sourcepoint 888 speakers, because I really feel that they're underrated in the hi-fi community. They're not talked about enough. So first, we're going to have a quick look at what's inside the box, and then we're going to discuss some of the specs of these speakers. I will give you some of my first impressions, but because I haven't had a whole lot of time with them, I'm not going to give you the full review right now, but I will give you guys my first impressions and give you guys an idea of what these speakers do really well, because they do a lot really well. So let's get right into these boxes. So for those of you that follow the channel, you'll know that I recently sold my legacy audio speakers. I'll link a video in the top right hand corner as to why I sold them if you're interested. But these are the speakers that I replaced them with, the Mofi Sourcepoint 888s. And I also did get the Sourcepoint 8s for my rears, which stay tuned for that video as well. So once you get into the top of the box, you have your little Mofi Electronics owner's manual, or probably warranty paperwork as well. Just put that off to the side. And then you also get your spike kit. So this is for carpeted floors. You got your spiked feet. Let's have a quick look at these. And it's a nice big heavy chunk of metal basically for this spiked foot. If it'll focus, come on, you can focus. And it's got kind of a burled side on it so that you can thread it on, but 4 of those feet in the top of the box, and I must say that they're a nice quality spike. And let's move that off to the side. So now we got everything off of the top. I'm gonna leave the styrofoam on, and I'm just gonna kind of flip it onto the this will be the top of the speaker, but the speaker is flat on top, so that shouldn't be an issue. We'll do that, and there is some handles on the sides of the box here, so I'm just going to grab those handles and lift the box up. But you might be able to see behind me, I've already unboxed one just to get an idea of how to do it, but I didn't film that one. Okay, and then on the side, you got your grill, and I do like the grills that they sent. First of all, they're magnetic. You guys know I love my magnetic grills. In this day and age, all speakers should come with them. But it's actually kind of a interesting color. It's a bit of a retro look, I guess. I would say that this speaker has like a retro modern look to it. But they send these nice gray grills, which I really like. It's a plastic frame, magnetic like I said, and it does fit the contours of the front baffle. Then you got your Mofi logo at the bottom, if it'll focus. But really nice grills, I like them. So this will be the bottom of the speaker, which it does have feet on it already, but it's a nice flat foot with rubber on the bottom. I'll give you guys a look at it here, and it's a 2-piece foot. So this threaded screw you can use for the spiked feet as well, but it just goes into this part of the foot here, and then you thread on this part. But if you wanted the spiked feet, then obviously you'd be putting the spiked foot on there. And if you just thread it all the way on, then you can see that the screw sticks out a little bit, and that's what you thread into the speaker. And they are adjustable height. As you can see, you can adjust the height. All right, so now that we have the bottom of the speaker exposed, we're gonna wanna flip it onto the bottom so that it's right side up. So just kind of gently let it down, lift it up. And then you can take the top piece off, and then you can slide the center piece off. And let's flip the speaker towards you. And then there you have the speaker. I am surprised at how light they are. I thought they were going to look a little bit darker. The walnut is a little bit lighter than I thought it was going to be, but it still looks really nice if you look at it from the side. And this is a real wood veneer, a real walnut veneer. And then on the front, it's just a matte black paint on the front baffle, but it's a nice contoured baffle. It looks really nice. So it is a 3-way ported speaker. So at the top you have this concentric driver. So it's an 8-inch mid-range with a 1.25-inch soft dome tweeter in the middle. And then you have these 2 8-inch drivers down below that handle all of the bass. Then on the back of the speaker, I'll flip it around. I know I'm not gonna get all of this speaker, I don't think, in the view, but that's all right. So you do have 2 ports, but each of the bass drivers actually have their own sealed enclosure within this cabinet. So this port is going to be for the top 8-inch driver, and that port's going to be for the bottom 8-inch driver. But inside this cabinet, you have a lot of bracing that seals off each of those drivers into their own sealed enclosure. And then the mid-range and tweeter are also sealed off in their own enclosure. So then down below, you do have a nice terminal plate that looks to be brushed aluminum, but it is a nice looking terminal plate. And then you have your 5-way binding posts, and you can buy wire or buy amp these speakers. But the terminals themselves look very familiar. If you're familiar with the Paradigm Founder series, these seem to be the exact same looking terminals that were used on those speakers, but they are nice quality looking terminal. So my first impressions on the build quality is that they did an excellent job on the build of this speaker. The walnut veneer looks fantastic, and it does have a nice texture to it. And then when it comes to the build of the cabinet itself, it's very stout, it's very sturdy. Like we already talked about, each of the drivers kind of has a sealed section inside the enclosure itself, which makes this enclosure very solid. So that's going to help with resonances, but it's also just going to help with having a very well-built, long-lasting speaker as well. I'll just give you guys a look at the side of the speaker again so that you can see the walnut here. But the side of the speaker does have a little bit of a contour to it. It's a little bit wider in the front than it is at the back, but it's just a very slight contour. It's not a very large angle, it's a very slight angle here, but you can tell that the front is a little bit wider than the back. So when I first got these speakers out of the box, I was expecting them to look good based on the pictures that I saw online, but I wasn't really expecting them to look this good. That front contoured baffle really has like an industrial / modern look to it. And I kind of liken it to something that Batman might have in his Batcave, just with the angles and the fact that it's just all black on the front. I just have get that vibe that it's something that Batman would have in his Batcave, because it does look really nice. It looks modern, it looks slick, it's kind of chic, but it's not just your average looking speaker, although it is just, 3 drivers, well, essentially 4 drivers on the front of the speaker. There's just something about the looks. I really like that front baffle. They are available in 3 different finishes. What I have here is the satin walnut finish, but it's also available in black ash and white as well. And they are using a real wood veneer. And I must say that they're using a really good wood veneer. It's a furniture grade. So it is a nice looking speaker. The wood veneer has some texture to it. It has some grooves to it. And I feel that contoured black baffle just contrasts really well with the satin walnut finish. And then they do include the white or off-white magnetic grills for the front. So I wasn't so sure how I was going to feel about the off-white grills, because now you're dealing with 3 different tones. You got the walnut, you got the black, and then you have that off-white grill. As soon as I saw them and as soon as I put the grills on, that's kind of the look I was going for. It's somewhat of a modern retro look, but I have to admit that I really, really do like the look of these speakers. Overall, it just kind of drew me in, sucked me in, and even my wife said, and she doesn't make comments on my speakers very often, but I was taking some pictures of these speakers, and she said, you know what, those actually look really nice with the grills off. I really like those speakers. So I was actually surprised they even have the wife's approval. And then the binding posts are nice enough. There's nothing really to write home about here, but they do look to be the same binding posts that I had on my Paradigm Founder 120H speakers, which again are a nice looking binding post, but nothing really out of the ordinary here. But what is out of the ordinary is the drivers, or more specifically the concentric driver on the top. And that driver consists of an 8-inch mid-range with a 1.25 1.5-inch soft dome tweeter in the middle of it, so that's why it's a concentric driver. And with a driver like that, you're just going to have a really cohesive sound when it comes to the mid-range and the treble, because it's coming from the exact same point on the speaker. And then you have another two 8-inch drivers below that, which are going to provide you with the bass. And because of those three 8-inch drivers, this speaker does have a frequency range of 32 hertz to 30 kilohertz. The nominal impedance is 6 ohms, but it does dip down to 4.5 ohms. The sensitivity is 87 dB with 2.83 volts at 1 meter. The crossover frequencies from the tweeter to the mid-range is 1.6 kilohertz, and from the mid-range to the bass woofers is 130 hertz. The max power input is 200 watts. The tweeter, as I said, is a 1.25-inch wide roll soft dome tweeter. The mid-range is an 8-inch paper cone, and the two bass woofers are both an 8-inch paper cone as well. This is, of course, a three-way speaker in a vented box. The dimensions of the cabinet are 42.13 inches high, 12.6 inches wide, and 16.14 inches deep. With the grill on, it's the same height and the same width, but it's 16.73 inches deep. And each speaker weighs in at 96.2 pounds. So that pretty much covers the specs of the speaker. If you guys do want to find out more about them, I have dropped links down in the description below. But let's move on to my first impressions on the sound and kind of why I picked these speakers in particular. So first, let's talk about why I chose these speakers. So first of all, I like the aesthetic. Looks are important to me. When I saw them online, I did like the aesthetic. I liked it even more after I got it out of the box and saw it in my space. So number one, I really do like the look of them. And number two, I was looking for a full range speaker. Now I know that these aren't exactly full range. They're only rated to 32 hertz or extending down to 32 hertz. In room, of course, you are going to get a little bit more of extension. Now, I imagine with room gain, you are going to get somewhere around 28 hertz. I haven't measured it, but I did do some testing with some sine waves, and I was still getting a significant output at around 28 hertz. After that, though, it did seem to fall off a little bit quicker, but I'll cover that more in the main review. But they are close to full range, and they definitely are not lacking in the bass department. And third, because I do a lot of reviews, I wanted a neutral speaker, just something to be my reference so that when I am comparing other speakers or other equipment, I kind of know where they stand when it comes to the neutrality of them. And if you don't have a neutral speaker and you're so used to a speaker that maybe has a boosted treble or a boosted bass, then it might be easy for you to assume that a neutral speaker is lacking somewhere. So let's say you have a speaker with really boosted bass and then you get in a speaker that's neutral. You may think that the bass is a little bit more tame, or you may feel that it's a little bit lacking versus the speaker you have. So I didn't want that misconception, I guess, to affect my review. So I really wanted something that was neutral, just something to give me a reference so I know a little bit better, or I'm able to give you guys better information when I do review other equipment. Now, with that being said, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Aaron at Aaron's Audio Corner, but you should definitely check his channel out. One of the reasons that I chose these speakers is because they do measure phenomenally well. He has a Klippel machine, which I believe is somewhere around $100,000 machine. So I wish it was something that I could get in my space and measure speakers for you guys, but that's just not realistic for me at this point financially. But he does have one of those machines, and he did measure these speakers. And I have to say that objectively, these speakers aren't exactly perfect, but they're dang near, especially for their price point. There's very few speakers that are going to measure as well as these speakers, even at a much higher price point. So again, they measured very neutral, which is what I was looking for. They had very low compression, which again, you have high dynamic range then for movies, music, because I will be using these for home theater. That low compression or high dynamic range is going to come in handy for movies. And they also measured very low with their distortion. So all around, the measurements of these speakers, especially again for their price point, was just phenomenal. So I figured this is just a great chance for me to try a fantastically designed speaker, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with Andrew Jones, but if you're into hi-fi, you absolutely should be familiar with Andrew Jones. He's just one of the more popular, more famous speaker designers out there, but not just because he's popular, he also designs very, very good speakers. So at the beginning of the video, I'd mentioned that they're kind of underrated, or they're not talked about enough on YouTube. And I really do feel that way, because these speakers are just, they kind of do everything really well in their price point. And when it comes to the sound, my first impressions on the sound, the first word that comes to mind is smooth. Everything is still there. All the detail, all the information is still there. They're just such a smooth speaker. They just have that aura about them that they're so confident that they can do all things. They can play you all music and it'll sound fantastic. Now, obviously, I can't say too much on the sound because I just started listening to them. You know, I don't have a full grasp of everything that they have to offer, but my first impression is just smooth. You know, it's like 007 sitting at the bar, sipping on a drink, just putting out that cool, smooth vibe that 007's known for. That's kind of what I liken these speakers to. That's kind of the vibe that they give me. Now, although these only have two 8-inch bass drivers, the Evolution Pinnacles that I had in here before that I reviewed had four 8-inch bass drivers. Don't let that fool you. These speakers, although neutral, have some fantastic bass to provide you as well. So they kind of just do everything really well so far. Now, obviously, I'm going to be able to provide you a lot more detail in the review, but these speakers should absolutely be on your radar. Whether it's home theater or music, I really feel like you should have these speakers close to the top of your list. Just the way they measure, the way they sound, they kind of just do everything really well. They're not super flashy, and they don't offer you, you know, this artistic cabinetry or anything like that. They still look nice. Like I said, it's something that I feel Batman might have in his Batcave. But they just do everything so well. I really, really think that more YouTubers need to talk about these speakers. They need to listen to these speakers because they just are that good. So as you guys can see, my first impressions are nothing but stellar for these speakers. And again, I did purchase these speakers with my own money. I purchased one for the center channel, and I purchased two for the left and right. And I did purchase the Sourcepoint 8s, which is basically just the top of this speaker with no bass drivers, so the 8-inch mid-range with the 1.25-inch tweeter in the middle, concentric driver, in a bookshelf configuration. So make sure that you guys stay tuned for videos about those bookshelf speakers as well. I am very satisfied that I decided to purchase these speakers for my home theater after having the Legacy Audio. I just feel that for the price, they're giving me everything that I was looking for. I highly recommend that you go take a listen to them. If you're in Calgary, head over to Absolute Audio Video in the Northwest. But if you are in other parts of Canada or in the US, I highly recommend that you find out what local shop has the Mofi Electronics Sourcepoint 8s or Sourcepoint 888s in stock for you to listen to, because I truly think that you are going to be impressed. And if you are looking for speakers, I'm pretty confident that these are going to make your shortlist after you have a listen to them. Make sure you stay tuned for the review that's sure to come in the coming weeks. I'm also going to be doing some videos on the Sourcepoint 8s, which is the bookshelf version of these. So stay tuned, and to do that, you're going to have to subscribe, tick the bell icon if you do, and please take just one short second to hit that like button. I always do appreciate it. And if you are interested in purchasing these speakers, I have dropped links down in the description below. Please do consider using those links, guys. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but I do get a small commission, which helps the channel, so I can bring in more equipment that I can review for all of you guys. So it really does help out the channel, and I always appreciate if you do use the links. Remember to enjoy your systems. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.